Okie dokie. Then, everyone, thank you for joining today. Yeah, I want to thank you all for coming today to our digital accessibility talk. So, my name is Paul, and I'm senior youth designer here at gravity9. Over the last few months, I've been reading up on digital accessibility, to get an understanding of where it's at and where it's going. It's a super important topic, and when you see the statistics associated and progress in inverted commas being made, you start to understand that there's a massively underserved community that requires a lot more attention than that's currently been given. So for for today, what we're going to cover, we're going to start off by taking a look at the current global accessibility landscape. We'll then have a look at what universal, inclusive, and accessible design mean and how they relate to each other. We will then go over the business case for accessibility. I will then, give a quick overview of what WCAG is and what's new in its latest version 2.2. Then we'll also cover, what will happen when the EAA comes into effect, what that means for your business. Then nearing the end of the talk, we'll address what's going on with AI and accessibility before going into some practical steps, how you can kind of prepare for the EAA, and then we will finish up with some questions at the end. So yeah, before I start, I wanted to show you this slide first. So this is a slide from Microsoft's Inclusive Design Toolkit, and I think it's a great way to articulate what a disability is and what a disability isn't. So on the left, we have the older way in which a disability is understood, and this would be the medical model, and which states that disability is a personal health condition, whereas on the right, we have the newer and more modern interpretation of, of what disability is, and it's based on the social model. And this social model says that the disability is caused by an environment in the environment in which the person is in, not their personal health condition. So, like, a disability is a mismatched interaction. Like, for instance, if someone in a wheelchair cannot read, if someone in a wheelchair sorry, cannot enter a building, if there's no wheelchair access, just like someone who is blind cannot participate in a website if there's no screen reader access. Both mismatched interactions, both environments are disabling the individual. There is a way that each person with a disability can access digital content. It just takes a little bit of thinking beforehand for them to experience the content the same way that everyone else does. And then yes, here I'd like to speak about what accessibility is. So accessibility is it's about making sure that people with disabilities can access digital products and services just the same as everyone else. Yeah, there's a lot of people here in the world who have a disability, 1.3 billion people. And interestingly, 80% of people with disabilities of these disabilities are invisible. Things like vision and hearing impairments, cognitive disabilities such as ADHD or autism. And a lot of these people would use assistive technologies to access content online. And common examples of these assistive technologies, or otherwise known as AT sometimes, would be like screen readers or screen magnifiers or voice recognition software. Also alternative input devices. Closed captioning too would be an example of this. Yeah, and understanding these technologies is key. So when you're testing and designing to make inclusive products. So yeah, over the last few years, this company WebAIM, they've been conducting a study of the top 1 million websites on the internet. And over the past 6 years, they've conducted this study with the top 1 million websites. So they said across 26 domains, 500,000 of which were .com, and then various different industries as well, be the public sector and private sector, and using a tool that they developed called the Wave standalone plugin. And as you can see here, the latest report found that 94.8% of the top 1 million websites were deemed to be inaccessible, with varying amounts of errors found per page, with the worst offenders ranging from 70 to 120 errors per page. Yeah, which is it's very bad, very, very bad, unfortunately. Yeah, and those of you who aren't aware what WCAG is, it's the World Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and they're a set of internationally recognized standards developed by the W3C, the World Web Consortium to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities. The WCAG guidelines, there's 86 of them, and we'll yeah, take a little further look into them later on in the talk. So this slide here, it speaks for itself really. This is a yeah kind of yeah the progress that has been made with yeah online accessibility since the study has been initiated. So as you can see, yeah, it's very bad. I think 1 or 2 years it's actually gotten worse. And then yeah, hopefully maybe this is where the EAA can come in to kind of I guess rectify this issue that disabled people are seeing on the internet. This here is a another yeah snippet from that report. It's a super powerful graph, and yeah, this is showing the most common errors that were coming up year on year when doing the study. And like to be honest, this is actually kind of good news what these errors are because they're they're very easy to fix. Well, not fix, sorry, they're very easy to avoid. You don't want to fix them, you want to avoid them. They're very easy to avoid as long as you're aware of them and you're kind of you integrate them and plan for accessibility from the beginning stages. So this diagram here is a I think it's a really nice way to understand how these three areas relate to each other. So universal design, inclusive design, accessible design. They yeah they're all quite similar, but there is differences between them, slight differences. So from top down, we'll start with universal design, and for which we will have one solution to work for everyone. Now, with universal design, it's out of scope for digital experiences because the spectrum of disabilities that people have doesn't really allow for one solution to work for everyone. But that's okay because this is where inclusive and accessible design can come into the picture. Now, before I go ahead, I would say that this is going to get these two are a bit slippery, a bit blurry because they're very quite similar. But the key difference between the two of them lies in their scope. Um, um, the so with inclusive design has a much wider reach and we consider a full range of human diversity and addresses as many needs. It's the key part, the most important part, user needs as possible. And then for accessible design. This is the baseline when it comes to digital access, and it's without doubt super important, super beneficial for disabled people, and it can do better. It's very important that you design accessibly, but yeah, you can do better than just accessible design. As in yeah. Okay, so to take a closer look into inclusive design, inclusive design is not like let's say if you today your product is inclusive that you stop there because you've reached your inclusivity destination boom, job done, congrats, that's it. Unfortunately, no, that is not it. Inclusive design is a continuous and ongoing thing that you must keep practicing if you want to practice inclusive design. So you're practicing this inclusive design, it means that you're designing diversity ways that everyone can participate in a common experience. But unfortunately today, many people are unable to participate in aspects of society, both physical and digital. Understanding how and understanding why, how and why people are excluded gives us actionable steps to take towards designing more inclusively. And this is actually one of Microsoft Inclusive Design's principles for their toolkit, recognize exclusion. And yeah, something I think is really kind of exciting kind of about inclusive design is that, this is where we're starting to see and really kind of understand and appreciate the whole concept of nothing about us without us, which is the most important part, I think, of designing really, which is, not designing, not building for, but building with and by people with disabilities. Yeah, testing with users it's so important to building a successful product. And so within this Microsoft's inclusive design toolkit, they have this framework called the persona spectrum. And yeah, it's a super powerful tool that helps us to take a fresh perspective uh, when thinking about people using your products and its conditions that they might be in. Um, and in general, personas, they're a really good and useful tool to discover and discuss design solutions that can they can meet real user needs, but they can, unfortunately sometimes be a bit one-dimensional. And yeah, potentially sometimes used a bit poorly. There could be like, assumed data in there muddying the water. and the team could also they could be making assumptions about the type of users that are going to be using the product. They might forget about somebody. Um, so yeah, there can as I said, there kind of be risks with using personas because teams can sometimes they can design for the normal for the average user, and like designing for this normal or average will ultimately lead to exclusion of users who don't fall into this range. And we don't want that. We don't want that. um, the reality is that there is no average user. People using your product will have a wide range of identities, abilities, disabilities, and using this persona spectrum, it extends the range of your personas by giving variations of for the disabilities of these people, these personas. And by looking how these motivations, they can change in particular situation or context, can change too. Um, be that a permanent or temporary or situational context, we can better understand the different goals and challenges that these people may face. Yeah, the postponement spectrum takes these factors into consideration, and it helps us design better and more inclusive solutions. Okay, so on to the business case for accessibility. And I guess you might ask what could be the business case for it. I guess the first reason is that, there is actually an awful lot of people in the world who, directly themselves have a disability. You can see here from the diagram, 1.3 billion people, have a disability. And then when you add up the people, the aging population and the friends and family, that brings you to 5 billion people. And not to mention, if you're thinking about people with situational temporary disabilities, that number gets even bigger again. And then another thing to consider is that in the UK, population is aging. But between baby boomers and Gen X, it makes up 40% of, of the UK the population, which is quite a substantial number. Important to take note of is that with the wonders of modern medicine, these demographics will be living longer. And yeah, I have to say I'm happy about this because I'm within one of these demographics. So with considering all these factors, will obviously contribute to like a growth in the number of people with disability that are out there. Okay, righty. So this one here is a snapshot of the people with disabilities here in the UK. And I'm not going to really speak to these numbers too much. Just wanted to show you, that there is an awful lot of people with a disability in the UK. 25% of the population have a disability. It's a massive number. 25% have a disability. 40% are over, are Gen X and Boomers who are kind of aging. Will soon have various disabilities themselves. Yeah, as in the number it's just a very big number. And again, when we consider the persona spectrum, this number gets even bigger again. And then something else to really consider is very important, like the global spending power, the national spending power of people with disabilities in the UK is 274 billion. So like, yeah, isn't if your website isn't accessible, then there's an awful lot of people that you're putting up an online obstacle course to keep out of your product. So last year, there was a report that was submitted to the UK government, and it outlines the current state of accessibility for products and services for disabled people in the UK. And I'm not going to speak to this too much, but I just wanted to let you know that the private sector is doing quite poorly actually when it comes to accessibility, both in the physical and digital world. And yeah, since the publication, the government has issued a formal response, and has made some minor policy changes, I guess. But the actual improvements for disabled consumers remains quite limited, unfortunately. So here we have a slide from a webinar I watched maybe a year ago or so from this crowd called Level Access. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Level Access, they've been one of the bigger players in the accessibility space. They've been around since 1999. They were the first digital accessibility company to get a revenue that was greater than 100 million. The clients of theirs would include, Fortune 500 companies, public sector. Yeah, so there's I don't think there's much fear to think that they might have something worthwhile to say when it comes to the accessibility space. And then this 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 survey that they did conducted by 500 different individuals, a diverse set of professions, uh, which included developers, junior, senior management, as well as directors. So again, yeah, one or two of these here. So yeah, importance in design. 71% of respondents ranked incorporating accessibility in design among the most impactful actions for advancing digital accessibility in their organizations. And then the last one there, organizations that address accessibility in planning and experience. Two times they were more likely to report improved customer acquisition, twice as likely to report customer retention, and then twice as likely to report improved sales. So, like, as you can see, like, these numbers kind of speak for themselves, as in it really is important to kind of consider accessibility early and kind of integrate it into the, design development phase. So to continue on with another story from Level Access, they client of theirs, they tracked, they were working with a client, and who baked accessibility early into their process, and they monitored this, and they compared it to another client who did not integrate accessibility into their process, but they fixed the issues after the fact. And yeah, there was X percentage reduction in accessibility issues that were found with the crowd who integrated it early versus the guy who got integrated later. And yeah, the amount that it was reduced was 90%. There was a 90% reduction in issues that accessibility issues that the other company had to fix basically. So it might be the time, if you're not kind of pricing accessibility kind of early in the design and planning stages, yeah, get it in there now because it'll save you a lot of money. So continuing with the business case, we're going to take a jump back to 2001. So Tesco, they worked with the Royal National Institute for the Blind, and together they made Tesco's home grocery service more accessible for blind users. They they tested it with more than 70 blind and partially sighted people. Again, testing with users, it's so important for a successful product, especially when you're designing something for disabled people. And what were the results from this investment that they made? So they invested £35,000, and yeah, between 2000 and 2001, the revenues went up, our sales went up from 52 million to 235 million, a 451% increase. Yeah, which is yeah, I'm sure within this business space kind of unheard of, really. But I guess they were kind of ahead of the game with that, with kind of designing and kind of providing an accessible service for people with disabilities. And then yeah, crazy number that they from 2000 to 2001, the precursors orders jumped from 28,000 per week to 700,000 per week, which is like yeah, pretty. These numbers are pretty outstanding. And again, this is from a long time ago, so I guess it doesn't necessarily apply so much now because people, accessibility is practiced more so now. But yeah, there was an interesting thing that Tesco found with the design of this highly accessible website was that they found it much easier for the sight or their non-disabled customers, or the non-disabled customers found it much easier to use. And there's actually kind of a very interesting kind of story behind this, and there's even a term kind of coined for it, and this is called the curb cut effect. And yeah, before getting into this research, I had no idea that there was such a rich history behind, something so kind of simple and, everyday and kind of almost nothing as the curb cut. But you should definitely look into the history of this because it's very fascinating, very interesting. Actually, 99% Visible, they they did an episode on it. And yeah, definitely give it a listen. It's very interesting to get the whole story. So this, seemingly simple design that makes walking through streets more accessible for those with disabilities and even those without was so significant that, as I said, the term coin cut, curb cut was coined. Yeah, so some current examples of this um, would include closed captioning, um, and for benefit someone trying to watch TV in loud bar. If you might remember from the image I showed a while back from the persona spectrum, yeah, this would fall into that space. Another one would be speech to text. This could benefit someone who's yeah, they're holding a baby in their arms and they want to respond to a message. Again, persona spectrum example there. And another kind of interesting one was text to speech. And I actually use this one quite a lot myself for listening to articles while cycling or while running. And yeah, as in there are lots of unintended benefits from when you design accessibly. So now we'll take a look at the WCAG. And yeah, as I mentioned before, the guidelines they're developed by the W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium. And in particular, the WCAG, it focuses on making web content more accessible for people with disabilities. Um, they were established back in 1999, and there's been three updates since they initially came about. And the most recent one was in was October 2023. Excuse me, and that was the 2.2. And there's a new update in the pipeline. That there was a preliminary draft released, I think about a year ago or something like that, and it's 3.0. And yeah, this is expected to be released sometime between 2027 and 2030. So yeah, it's still quite a bit away. So as you can see, things within the accessibility space, they move quite slowly. It is a very complex area, so I guess that's maybe partially why it moves so slowly. But in what, 25, 26 years, there's been four updates. Sorry, someone trying to jump in? Oh, all good. So yes, the WCG, it was built around four principles, four foundational principles, and they're kind of have acronym the acronym of POUR, so perceivable, operable. Yeah, they're leading sorry, they're leading accessibility crowd, and yeah, well worth having a look at if you want to kind of keep up to scratch your best practices. So if you're designing a website for it to be perceivable, that means can everyone see and sense what's there. If a user is able to perceive the information regardless of their ability. Next is it operable? Can everyone use it? And no matter how they interact, this would mean like can they operate the website in the way that was individually intended, regardless of ability? So, for instance, this means like um, would there be descriptive links for instead of the likes of click here or see more? And if you got headings and structure in your content, so the screen reader can navigate through the site appropriately. Is it understandable? This means is it easy to use? This is about using plain language. It's about having a consistent user experience and making sure things are predictable and understandable. It's basically kind of information architecture 101. And then finally, is it robust? Does it work with all kinds of tech right now and in the future? Yeah, can the content work well and with all browsers and devices, assistive technologies? So yeah, these four core principles make sure websites are fair and usable for everyone, no matter what their abilities are or what tech they might be using. It's like making sure a building, it has ramps, it has clear signs, it has doors, it has access, it's accessible. Okay, this is just for the internet, kind of. As I outlined a while back, the WCAG, it's got there are three conformance levels: A, AA, and AAA. And with the first one, level A compliance, it represents the bare minimum requirements and it addresses the utmost critical accessibility issues. To put it another way, like level A makes sure that everyone has a seat at the table. It's important to keep in mind as well, that level A does not mean it does not guarantee that all users will have an accessible experience. Yeah, not everyone will have an accessible experience. Example of this level A would be, is there alt text for the images? Is there a text alternative for the image that's on the page? And next up, we have level AA, and it's generally considered the acceptable standard for accessibility, which all businesses should aim for. It addresses a broader range of issues and aims to make web content more accessible for a much wider audience. Examples of AA would be, contrast, ensuring that there's a sufficient contrast between the text and the background so that people with, poor vision can read the text. As another one would be, if the text is resized up to 200%, will the page still make sense? because people will get will zoom up to that much just so that they can read and see what's going on a bit better. So level AAA compliance. This is the highest and most stringent of all the levels, and it includes all A and AA criteria. Yeah, plus some additional measures to ensure accessibility even further. Now, level AAA compliance, it can be quite challenging because yeah, it can be difficult. But if you can make it to level AAA compliance, you can be sure that the website you're offering will be kind of highly accessible for the most amount of people. And examples of this AAA compliance would be sign language. So if there's a video content on your site, do you offer a sign language alternative for them to I guess understand it? So here we have the four core principles, and with on the left you see the updates that have come with the 2.2. Um, and yeah, so the update introduces nine new criteria and strengthens accessibility for users with cognitive, visual, motor, and especially and mobile devices. Um, I won't go into detail so much on this because we're actually in the process of creating an EAA action pack to prepare you for the upcoming new legislation of the EAA, and how to design more inclusive experiences. So yeah, we're in the process of making this, and we'll be sending it out to you shortly after this talk. Now here we have I guess, an extended map of the WCAG with all the different 86 criteria there on it. And yeah, this is again was created by Entopia. And yeah, it's an interesting kind of map to look at to give you a context of all the different criteria and how they relate to each other. Yeah, yeah, give it a look. It's interesting. And here we have a development on the new criteria for the WCAG 2.2. And as I'd mentioned, yeah, a few slides back, yeah, we're currently in the process of making that action pack, and you can use this pack as a North Star to ensure that when you're designing, inclusive experiences, and yeah, creating a successful, accessible product. So, okay, what's happening with AI and accessibility? So AI it's rapidly transforming the field of digital accessibility, and it's offering new opportunities to remove barriers to people for accessibility disabilities. Um, it's AI-driven solutions. They enhance communication, navigation, as well as interaction for users with visual, auditory, mobility, or cognitive impairments, making digital environments more inclusive. Um, yeah, AI powers assistive technologies such as voice navigation, real-time captioning, and image descriptions for screen readers. Yes, so while like AI, it handles many tasks at scale and speed, it can catch every issue. So the best results, when kind of using AI is combining it with someone else kind of, I guess, overseeing what's happening in the automation. Um, So over the last couple of years, there's been various key innovations within the AI space, and I'm going to give a very general overview of these key innovations. And the first one you might be very well aware of, the large language models back in November 2022, and yes, the likes of ChatGPT. It was the first technology we ever had that could, really understand a natural language. Yeah, with this incredible advancement, suddenly we had the ability to for computers to essentially understand what text is written. And like yeah, LLMs have been getting stronger and stronger and more powerful over the years as time has gone on, and yeah, will only get more and more so as we go forward. Um, and 1 year later, we had the innovation of what's known as multimodality, which is basically the ability to transcend text and start looking at more complex content such as images, video, or speech. Yeah, with this incredible advancement of multimodality, AI started to conquer the frontier of being able to understand images and video, similar level of efficacy as we saw with LLMs and plain text. As you can imagine, like the yeah accessibility implications of this were quite profound for people with disabilities. And next up, we had something called chain of thought. So now to explain this chain of thought, funnily enough, I'm going to give you a thought experiment. Um, so imagine if someone gives you a math problem and you're asked to answer at the top of your head. I imagine you're going to probably have a little bit of trouble to do this just in your head. But if I gave you pen and paper, you'd probably have a pretty good chance, hopefully, anyway, of solving this problem. So yeah, the ability to reflect on your knowledge, to reflect on your own kind of thinking, to consider, things step by step. That is it gives a tremendous uplift to your effective intelligence. And that's kind of effectively in a simplified fashion how it works for AI and this chain of thought and innovation. Don't know if any of you have used Perplexity or Grok. Um, they have that kind of feedback into their UI as you ask it a query, and you can see it kind of doing it, going through it, and interesting that the more complex the query is, the obviously longer it takes. You can kind of see it. You can see it with you can see it kind of what the AI is thinking. And a nice little kind of thing with Grok was, it's kind of in its little kind of box, and it's kind of you can see it kind of running around the background, and there's a button to say read my thoughts. It was just a nice little kind of interaction. So anyway, this chain of thought innovation, it came out September 2024 with the O1 models, and this gives the AI the ability to reason more or less the level of PhD across a number of fields. And then yeah, our last and final innovation was with very recent, last December, and this is the agentic evolution, which essentially is the ability for an AI to pursue a goal independently by itself. As an example, to think about this, how you might ask your travel agent, I want to make a plan for my anniversary this weekend. I'm going to be going to this city. Can you research, possible ideas of what we could do? Restaurants to go to, activities to do. Here's my budget. These are our interests. And then the AI will go away, do its thing in the background, and then it'll be able to research, explore different avenues and options, and then it can come back to you with the result. That's pretty impressive, really. And yeah, with time, these are going to even get stronger and stronger with kind of more use cases. So yeah, these four areas, they're really important advances in AI for a plethora of reasons. But and I will show you some of these areas and how AI and accessibility advancement is advancing. Okay, so uh, the applications for AI accessibility. First up, we have here natural language processing, otherwise known as NLP for content simplification. And then yeah, this NLP, these NLP tools, they can rephrase complex text and generate generate easy to read content, making web information more accessible for users with cognitive and learning difficulties. Um, an example of this would be Grammarly, that's integrated into a lot of different platforms to kind of, I guess, yeah, help you kind of, I guess, write better. And yes, the next up here we have image and video recognition for all text. So yeah, the example of this would be computer vision technologies. Um, and they're now able to automatically generate detailed image descriptions, making visual content more accessible to blind and visually impaired users. AI can also describe scenes and objects in real time, advancing independent and web navigation. Yeah, all text that AI will be a powerful one of these. It's a very very good all text generator. Um, Next up, we have yeah, real-time captioning and transcription. And then yeah, this would be AI AI-driven captioning tools. Yeah, have become highly accurate over the last year or two, providing real-time transcription for videos and live streams. This is a major advancement for users with hearing impairments, enabling immediate access to auditory content and yeah, improving overall engagement. And yeah, Otter AI would be a very powerful transcription tool that yeah, I've used it before for some interviews that I made. I've done with people to transcribe them and so that I can kind of get some of it quite quickly. It's quite good. Um, and then so on to the next one, we have voice recognition, text to speech, speech to text. And then yeah, advanced voice recognition allows users with mobility and dexterity issues to interact with websites through speech, providing efficient navigation and content and content access without the need for a mouse or a keyboard. A good example of this would be the fourth one there. This is Project Relate. It's a Google project. And this is a powerful AI tool. It's an Android app that can assist people with non-typical speech. Next up, we have what do we have? We have personalized and adaptive user interfaces, otherwise known as overlays. And yeah, machine learning algorithms. This would be kind of, I guess, the AI technology that would be kind of responsible or kind of associated with this space. They can learn user preferences such as font size, color contrast, and layout and that. And yeah, they can adapt to the users the interface in real time. Now, I must say, with overlays, yeah, the reliability of these has been questioned quite a bit over the last few years, as it seems that they, a lot of the time, kind of cause more problems than they're fixing, because they can interfere with the user's own assistive technology sometimes and override, their I guess, current preferences that they have for browsing the web. Um, there's been quite, actually a fair few of lawsuits against some of the larger overlay providers because their product, it caused more harm than good. They promised that it would make your site, accessible, and it wasn't accessible. I guess a key example from this would be Accessibility. They'd be one of the bigger players in this accessibility overlay space, and yeah. Um, yeah, their overlays caused so much problems that someone they built a plugin, a Chrome plugin, it's called Accessibility Gone, yeah, to disable it because yeah, it was yeah screwing up their preferences and they weren't able to access the website properly. Um, and then, yeah, I would say one thing I should say about overlays, it is okay to use them for a short period of time, if your website needs it. But like, it's vital that if you have an accessibility statement on your site outlining why it is you're using the overlay and what is inaccessible, and like your accessibility statement must have a clear roadmap as to yeah what's wrong, how you're going to fix it, and not necessarily how you're going to fix it, but when you'll fix it. Um, and yeah, so using overlays is okay briefly if you need to, but yeah, I wouldn't be leaning on them entirely. And then lastly, we have automated accessibility testing. Yeah, AI-powered tools can now efficiently scan like entire websites, detect certain accessibility issues like missing alt text or improper headings, and yeah, they can often to an extent suggest and apply fixes to these accessibility errors. Yeah, this has made accessibility compliance and testing with WCAG much faster, much more accurate, much more scalable. Yeah, a powerful tool. This would be the Axe tool for designers that's picking a plugin. Yeah, as well as the Wave plugin from DQ. The Axe tool is also by DQ. Um, so yeah, but with these AI systems, there can be some inherent risks. These automated tools, depending on what area of the WCAG that they're testing for, they can only really catch between 30 and 60% of the issues. The easier ones to the more difficult ones. Yeah, these would include missing all text, low contrast, or improper headings, but with barriers like keyboard navigation and screen reader compatibility will require manual testing and user feedback. So that's why it's very important that you don't solely rely on these AI systems to fix all your problems. You still have to have a human in the loop overseeing what's happening with this AI automation. Not to mention the fact that you must test with real people when to ensure that you're designing and providing accessible and full experience for disabled and non-disabled people. So yeah, challenges for AI and accessibility. So, despite the tremendous benefits of AI power tools, significant challenges and ethical considerations must be addressed to ensure inclusivity and fairness across and security. Um, so, the first one here, accuracy and reliability. Yeah, speech recognition, like Siri or Alexa, can often fail to interpret non-standard speech patterns. And maybe this is why Google they developed and deployed that Google Relate app that is yeah it's highly effective with understanding speech. Next up, we have over-reliance and lack of human oversight. This could lead to automation bias, where humans they may, unfortunately, blindly trust the AI decisions and information it gives you. even if it's flawed. You do need to kind of, I guess, sense check what you're getting back. And then next up, we have got, yeah, privacy and security. Um, this one, yeah, is an ongoing issue. Like for example, apps like Be My Eyes, it's an app that it's a Danish company that they quite a successful accessibility app for blind people, which connects blind users with sighted users. And they actually they teamed up with OpenAI recently, yeah, and they have an app called Be My AI. But yeah, when using this app, it can collect location and usage data, which can be shared with advertisers and third parties without the user's consent. And then finally, we got the real big issue of disability bias. AI systems, they're only as good as the data they're trained with. Um, like if excuse me, if the training data lacks diversity, AI models they may look may not look effectively, they might work effectively for all users, potentially excluding certain groups. So AI bias, it can manifest itself in various different ways, some of which can include underrepresentation of diverse users, which many AI models they're trained on data sets that do not adequately represent people with disabilities. Yeah, leading to systems that can fail to understand and properly assist these disabled people's their needs. Um, then next up we have cultural and linguistic biases. So yeah, AI systems they can they're designed for accessibility. Often, t- sorry, the AI systems that are designed for accessibility, they often perform better in English, and often widely spoken on languages that can lack, robust support for, I guess less popular, not popular, less kind of less spoken languages, but minority languages. And then finally, we have gender and racial bias. Yes, so like this, some studies have shown that AI systems can inherit biases related to gender and race, which can further marginalize certain users when like yeah the when interacting with AI-driven accessibility tools. You might remember from few years back that there was an incident with, I think it was Google Photos, or I think it was a Google product, where there was two people with dark skin, and the AI kind of was tagging the photos to categorize them, and then the two people with dark skin they were tagged as gorillas, and like yeah, no, that's obviously not right, and it was a while back to be fair, but yeah, some improvements need to be made. Okay, so as I was saying in the previous slide, about how AI models are trained on data sets that normally do not kind of adequately represent people with disabilities. Unfortunately, it kind of sort of makes sense to an extent, because what's happening, as happening, the data is usually derived from people without disabilities. Seeing as there are an awful lot more people in the world without disabilities than there are with disabilities. Like, I mean, the very name of ChatGPT, the general purpose transformer, it's about the average, really, kind of, isn't it? Yeah. So like this issue with disability bias, it obviously is a fairly large issue, but there is a way that we can mitigate this, and it'll take time, but like this will involve incorporating people with disabilities into the process. Yeah, as I said, testing users, involving them, kind of, yeah, keeping them active. Um, so a very kind of interesting, powerful, kind of repetitive phrase to an extent that I came across while doing my research was that yeah, um, if you design for the edges, you you get the middle for free. Um, and like yeah, it's such a powerful sentence. Yeah, you should use this as your mantra when designing digital experiences, so as to ensure that when you are designing a website, designing experience, you're designing it as inclusive as possible. Okie doke. So we're now on to the EAA. And so yeah, the EAA, it aims to improve accessibility of consumers facing products and services for people with disabilities across the EU. It's a framework with minimum requirements that all member states must adhere to. It came into effect, excuse me, it came into effect, yeah, June 28th, 2022, and with the aim of making digital products and services accessible to all within the EU. and it also includes Norway, Switzerland, and the UK. And yeah, prior to the EAA was the Web Accessibility Directive, otherwise known as the WAD. I'm not sure who named it that. It was, maybe isn't the best of names. But yeah, the WAD was legislation in place before the EAA. And so the WAD it focused only on the public sector, unfortunately. But thankfully now with when the EA coming into effect, that will include the private sector as well, which I think is definitely certainly well in need in certain countries. So yeah, the EAA it states that it must kind of align with the WAD for the standards, and yeah, this uses the EN 301549, and then yeah, the EN 301549 it relates or it says it needs to use the WCAG 2.1 AA criteria. And yeah, so initially when the EA comes in, it'll be 2.1, and then I think in the 2025, start 2026, that's when they'll update it to 2.2. So in a little over 6 weeks' time, businesses will, must ensure that the products and services are covered by the Act, and yeah, the must ensure that they're accessible, which include, as you can see from this here, all these different kind of products and services. But for today's talk, we're obviously focusing on the e-commerce side of things. So yeah, in the UK, if your company, if it sells a product to anyone within the EU, yeah, you must be EAA compliant. There are a few exceptions to yeah compliance of the EAA, and these include B2B. Yeah, I do think that this will probably prove to be a little bit difficult, tricky in the future because obviously there are people and will be people working in companies who have a disability. So I guess yeah, there will probably be some sort of an update amendment to it in the future or some issue. I don't know, but yeah, that one it's a bit kind of tricky, kind of blurry, I'd say. Next up, we have businesses that are below 10 employees or below 2 million euro in revenue, and then finally, yeah, pre-recorded content, time-based media, yes, and archive content as well as certain other third-party media content. Uh, so, quick overview of the Equality Act, which is the UK legislation that consolidates and strengthens the anti-discrimination laws in England, Scotland, and Wales. The Equality Act it requires organisations to make reasonable adjustments for disabled people, but does not set out detailed technical standards like the EAA does. Um, it's this loose and ambiguous language of reasonable adjustments is very, very likely why that the private sector in the UK is performing so poorly for people with disabilities. Yeah, hopefully, and most likely, the EA will resolve this issue. And so now, what will happen for businesses that don't comply with the EAA? So if a business or organization doesn't comply with the EAA, there can be some pretty serious consequences. Um, the exact fines and punishments depend on the country that where you operate in. But generally speaking, I guess you could be looking at a fine from 5,000 to 100,000, which is quite the wide range. Yeah, certain countries are kind of taking a stricter kind of outlook on it. And yeah, if you remember a while back when I mentioned the Web a Million study, um, and yeah, the worst offenders of the top 1 million websites, they errors in the per pages range from 70 to 120. So yeah, if you're a company living in a country or operating in a country where you've got 70 or 100 or even 50 errors per page and you've got 100,000 euro per fine, that's really going to stack up quite quickly. Yeah, so it would be advisable to to align with the EAA for sure. And then yeah, in some really serious cases here in Ireland, they're so if you break these accessibility compliance laws, uh, there could be up to 18 months in prison for company directors. Yeah, so again, yeah, in Ireland especially, you want to be careful. So it's definitely in the company's best interest to make sure that you're EAA compliant. So here we have a throwback to what we saw earlier. The six common issues, errors that come up with that showed up with the WebM study. And again, as I said, this is a good thing because they're very easy to design for and ensure that they aren't a problem. Um, so this is it's a snippet, a snapshot of the EAA action pack that we're putting together for you guys. And yeah, these are kind of these are ways that you can kind of mitigate these problems here with a visual kind of overview and representation of it. And within this pack, we'll be outlining different tools and plugins and best practices you can incorporate to make sure that you're designing a very inclusive and yeah, successful experience. And again, these are more of those the errors that came up in the Web 2.2 or yeah, Web a million. And so yes, we are currently working on a new presentation for designing from university. And yeah, we would love for you guys to join. And yeah, we'll let you know when it's happening. And then yes, this brings me to the end of the presentation. And yeah, is there any questions?
Paul, you have a couple of questions actually in the Q&A chat. One, what do you think the biggest challenge in digital space for implementing accessibility into products?
Biggest challenge in this space would for implementing accessibility into products, I guess it's probably a lack of awareness that not designing not being aware people have accessibility issues and yeah that they're not designing for them.
Okay. And the other one is, what is your go-to tool for accessibility at this moment in time, AI or not?
AI or not? To be honest, I don't use it too much. When I am conducting kind of accessibility tests, I guess I'd use the Axe plugin for Figma. Yeah, it's quite good. There's a free version and a paid version. I use the free version. I don't think the paid version is quite expensive. It's good because it can kind of annotate accessibility kind of points on your Figma designs. And you can also do automated tests that are pretty good on your website as well.
And then finally, we've got great to see that private companies are being taken to task, having faced software suppliers responding to reports with no one has been fined in the UK. So we don't need to fix all the issues. So
Is there a
that's
question?
more of a comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's 100% true. 100% true. As in, yeah, like you honest, I was surprised how much of a problem. Well, I wasn't, but yeah, isn't how much of an issue there was with accessibility in the UK of when online. But yeah, with the EA coming in now, that will obviously kind of rectify this problem, thankfully. And
Is there
have we
anything
got?
else?
Were they the end of the questions?
I think it could be Paul.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, okay. I'm glad you guys are all joined today. It's been yeah, it's been fun to kind of give this presentation. And yeah, as I said, we're currently in the works of yeah, putting together the design for neurodiversity. And yeah, I would love for you to kind of come back and see what we have to say in that space. And yeah, as I said, the EAA action pack is in the process, and we'll have it out to you yeah, shortly. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming by, and yeah, see you next time.
Thank you, Paul.